That's overwhelming. Wow. What a good-looking audience.
So how did you do yesterday during Snowmageddon?
Yesterday, I just stayed in the hotel room. You guys are very brave to be out here. I just had to walk across the street, basically.
I'm glad you're here. And again, you're responsible for casting Arrow, The Flash, 90210, which I love. I'm a child of the 90s, I loved it. And Gossip Girl. This goes on and on.
Supergirl,
Legends of Tomorrow. I want to talk about Legends of Tomorrow in a minute.
Watching it?
But why don't you tell everybody where you're from?
Boston.
Boston, Mass! Yeah. Now they like Boston, see? The guy with the Yankee chat's going to take, you should take it off now, sir. So, how did you get your start in casting?
I did an internship. I went to Emerson College in Boston. I did an internship locally there for a casting director. And I went to California my last semester of college. I did an internship also in casting because I didn't know what else to do. And I got hired after that internship and ended up working with that casting director for about 6 years. Am I screaming, by the way? Or
no, you're fine.
And I worked with that casting director for about 6 years. Her name was Madeline Finn. She was my mentor. She came from the theater world. And at the time that I started with her, she had done Titanic and LA Confidential, The Matrix, and a lot of really big budget films. And she taught me my love of actors and to appreciate the colors and the art of casting. And I went out on my own in about 2007. Gossip Girl was my first play. And I've just been working continuously with Warner Brothers and now doing this crazy
Vicky's
Supergirl.
message just got to me now.
It was, so casting really wasn't top of mind at Emerson. Like, what did you go into studying?
I just wanted to be a part of film production. I wanted to be on a set. I wanted to be actors. I wanted to read scripts. I had no idea. I had no focus. I really started from the bottom without any connections and just worked as hard as I could and learned and listened and I loved it. I loved every second of it. I really just needed that, and I think it feels now as if I randomly fell into casting. I understand now is more of a choice that I made, but it felt, I should say, at the beginning that I randomly fell into it. But I love it. I can't imagine anything else, and I don't think I can really do anything else at this point, so kind of stuck.
So, if you don't mind, walk us through almost a day-to-day. So what's a normal day for you, like a casting world?
Well, let me just explain first what a casting director does and sort of who they are. We're basically a liaison between agents, a talent agent and a talent manager, and a studio network producer and director. So a studio network producer director will give us a script, which we'll then send out to the talent representation through a company called Breakdown Services. They'll then submit their actors, most of which we know, a lot of actors we don't know, so we do a thing called pre-reads, where we bring them in for us and we audition them. And then we do producer sessions where we bring in actors from those pre-reads and actors that we know, and we kind of narrow down the field, so to speak, for the producers and directors. And we support certain actors, we think are right for the job, and then we make offers, negotiate their deals. So there's no real typical day, but most days we have sessions or auditions, as you guys would call them. And as a numbers game that I explained to you last time, it's an overwhelming numbers game. We get about 2,500 submissions for every single role. And I would say we narrowed that down to about 20 people that we end up seeing in the room. And we narrowed that down to about 3 people that we sent to our showrunner, who narrows it down to 1 with our input. And we then negotiate their deal and you see them on screen. So there have been a lot of people auditioning for all the roles of the actors that you've seen out here today. These are not the only ones that audition. It's a huge process. It can take up to 8 to 10 weeks for a pilot, like Arrow or Flash. And each episode, we have about 5 to 8 days to cast an episode, anywhere from 2 to 22 new characters.
So when you said liaison, you find yourself having to mediate from time to time. You have to follow a lot of books, right?
Absolutely. The other producers and directors don't always see eye to eye, and there's a lot of fighting, and sometimes they turn to me and just smile. And I give my opinion, but I'm there primarily to support the producer's vision. Really, Greg Berlanti is the producer that oversees all the shows that I work on. And so ultimately I'm there to kind of help him find the best actor that fits the essence of the character that he's written.
And I know you're a very calm, very pleasant guy. Well, what other qualities do you think would make a really good casting director?
You have to love film and television, you have to love actors. Like I said, I do that. I see every single thing that I can see, not just was on network television. And look at web series and YouTube and Vine, you look anywhere for talent. I think you have to have a hunger for it. And you have to have an open mind. And I think there was, to give you an example, when we cast Stephen Amell as the Arrow, we were looking for He-Man. We were looking for someone who played kind of a Supergirl, just on paper. And when we were casting The Flash, there was a discrepancy about how we were going to cast this role. And I saw Grant Gustin as the sort of person that's, Grant Gustin, for those who don't know, plays The Flash. He was this guy who became a superhero. He wasn't born a superhero in the way that I presume Stephen Amell to be. He seems very, very athletic and outgoing, Greg's a little more wiry and goofy and funny. And to me, he had the same kind of sparkle in his eye. It wasn't physically quite there yet. He didn't have the commandment that Stephen does. He was a terrific actor, and I thought this would be a really, really interesting way to go to cast The Flash against that. And ultimately, I think it worked really well. I think he's doing a terrific job. So I forget what your question was, but I answered it all.
Yeah, it was one of the qualities maybe. Usually your love for the movies, love for TV. So yeah, and to clarify, when you were looking for the He-Man type, I was unavailable. That's why.
I would have told you. Yeah. Now I know for next time.
Fair enough. Let's go to the audience here. Hi, what's your name? Where are you from?
Hi, my name is Lily. I'm from Maryland, New York.
Hi. What's your question?
I'd like to know, is it true that casting thought that Barrowman was a long shot?
Casting John Barrowman was a long shot? Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're huge Doctor Who fans at Office. You guys are all I can see. So anyone we can get from Doctor Who, including Mike Stevenson and things like that. John Barrowman did not audition as a straight author because we knew he was amazing and we wanted him. There was actually no one else who could think of the role that would have been better. And he's just surpassed our expectations. He's so much fun. He's one of our fun characters we were expecting. But it was a long shot because you never know when you can offer someone like that. I'm on board there. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi. I was wondering, so I heard that you keep all the first audition tapes for all the actors. And so I was wondering, are there any particularly memorable ones? I mean, certainly for things like Flash, Arrow, Legends.
They're all memorable to me because I think when we were starting a project like that, starting the process, we really built what that role is going to look like. And so when someone comes in and it's that magic moment, and you think, oh my God, this person just fit the role. Not only is it, thank God, because I was nervous as a finder, it's a really special moment when we all sleep in the room, all excited. So I remember Stephen's audition, I remember Greg's audition, I remember Melissa's audition, and something is very special about it. It's a very magic moment. I was showing Stephen his first audition, and it was really interesting to watch him, to watch it back, and I remember that moment before all of this happened, and he was just fucking actor. And I could see in his eyes how important that moment was when he was up. So,
Has there been any particularly bad auditions that ended up getting cast in?
Sure. Can I tell you who those were? No, I'll be honest, we don't always get it right. Sometimes someone you go out from the room and they don't perform on set, or vice versa, you take a chance with someone who wasn't so great in their audition, but you know they really do it and they really perform and stand out on the show. So yeah, it goes both ways, but I don't think I want to take anybody here today, so I'll keep it all possible.
Okay, thank you.
Give me a minute. Thank you.
So are you, on that point, are you more inclined to play it safe, or are you known for taking a chance?
Absolutely take a chance.
Yeah.
It's so boring. And I tell that to actors who come in the room. Don't take the chance for the sake of taking the chance, but we want to watch a performance that's alive in the moment and feeling very fresh. We want to see your new ideas and how unique you are. So I encourage that from actors. I want to be that way. I want to think outside the box. I don't want to think about age, body type, diversity. I want to just, the best actor wins. Absolutely.
That's great. Hi, what's your name? Where are you from?
Chris from New Jersey.
Hi, what's your question?
Hi, I work in casting too, and I was just curious when you're under pressure and an actor suddenly decides at the last second not to perform, how do you go about it?
When we offer an actor a role and they decide to pass on it?
Yes, and you have a deadline or something.
I cry a little bit in my office because there's a lot of pressure on me to get this right. Luckily for us, for all the shows that we do this year at Vancouver, which is Arrow, Flash, and Duchess of Tomorrow, we have a casting director in Vancouver that reads backups for every single role. So we're looking in 2 cities ideally for every role. We usually have a backup if we're lucky. I assume it's going to happen because it's happened so many times, whether it's schedule or weather or someone can't make it, we have to have a backup. So I try to have a backup plan, but if I do my job right, there's only one person that's right for that role. And when I think about Steven missing out on his audition because of a snowstorm, I would have been a completely different show. So there's occasions where we push production. Good for a certain cast member. There are certain occasions where they push a role, to another episode because the person wants it. But for most times, we have a second choice, I would say, which is the safest way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Put the microphone adjusting. Good. Hi, what's your name? Where are you from?
Hi, I'm from Brooklyn.
Hi.
Hey. I had to modify my questions while getting out here because it's kind of school. But speaking of Doctor Who is your next ideal recruitment?
What do you guys want to see? I don't know who?
Timmy?
Oh, God, yes. I would love to. Yeah. Ooh, that's a really good question. Let me think about it. Yeah. Thank you.
I think it should be you.
It should be you.
No, not me.
Cisco's brother.
Fair enough, yeah.
Oh, we had cast Cisco's brother already, but his other brother.
Yeah, his other brother, yeah. I was half brother.
Right. Hi.
Just wanted to know the actors that play Captain Cole and Heatwave.
Yes.
Did they audition or were they approached? How did that go?
They were approached. We approached Wentworth first with an offer. We placed Captain Cole, and he was the one that suggested Dominic Purcell. We also started on Prison Break to play Heatwave. That was one of those things that I really had nothing to do with because it was an offer and it made me look really good. I think they're fantastic on the show, and now they're on the spin-off, which is great. And so a lot of people at that certain level don't need to audition because we know they work well enough to say we trust that you're going to do a great job with it. They're both fantastic. Thank you.
But that's a great question. How often do the other actors provide that input, or shall I say, how big is their influence? Do you take it into account, or?
We listen to everybody. We don't, they're not producers, so nothing is guaranteed to them. But I certainly open creatively to anyone on the team's creative input. But they do their thing. They act, we cast. The writers sometimes suggest people to us. I rarely suggest lines or storylines, so we all kind of stay within our own departments. But when someone like Wentworth says, yeah, Dominic wants to do it, absolutely, we'll take that. Yeah.
I like that phrase too. Let's all stay in our own departments.
Yeah, I'm not writing the show anytime soon. So.
Hi there, what's your name? Where are you from?
My name is Kai.
Hi.
My question is, when an actor is auditioning for a show, do you pay attention to them physically? Do you say oh, does this guy look like the character from the comics or whatever? Like Grant Gustin with the Flash?
Yeah, it's a good question. When we started, the Flash was blonde. The version of the Flash that we were casting, so that was a big deal that everyone that we cast this for him. I did not grow up with the comics. I've learned to love them and working on them. So my job and the job of our producers is to really reinterpret these comic books, to stay close to them as possible, keep the fans happy. But I think I come to it with a fresh eye because I don't know them that well. And I try more to match, as I said, the essence of the character, their sort of personality, as opposed to the actual look. In a lot of cases, because these jobs are very physical, I am looking for someone with some sort of physical quality, someone that's capable of running and jumping and leaping and all that stuff. And although they all do have their own stunt doubles, Steven does a lot of his things. It's incredible. We are looking for mostly physically fit people in terms of the superhero stuff, but we look at all types of people otherwise. So,
Thanks.
thank you.
Good question. Hi there, what's your name? Where are you from?
Isaac, and I'm from Montclair, New Jersey.
Hi.
Hey, so my question to you was, what reminds me of really big casting? Because, I did a casting internship at Lennon, and put my time in there and figured out, all right, here I'm ready to go. My 3 months, got my book and T-shirt. Thank you for all your hard work. I'm going to go apply for these casting assistant jobs, but nobody ever replies. No one ever seems to be really used. It's sort of we want someone who's been doing this, being paid for a year, or your internship wasn't really even though I thought, The Onion was a pretty good name.
Yeah, it's tough out there. I'll tell you, whether you're casting or an actor, they say pay your dues, and you think, well, I interned for free for 6 months. Those were my dues. There's no length of time. I feel like you have to kind of keep going after it. I know we all want to make money and be able to support ourselves and eat and have it. We can't just work for free for always. But I would encourage you interning again. I think Casting Society of America is an amazing resource for this, and also Breakdown Express if you're not familiar with it. You know Breakdown, so you can put your resume up there and you'll hear about casting assistant and associate jobs and internships as well. I would reach out to casting directors for informal informational interviews. I have a lot of people reach out to me and say, I'm interested in casting, do you have time to sit down and have coffee with me? I'd say no a lot of the time because I'm really busy working, but you get me the off chance and I will say yes, and it's invaluable. I go and I meet with casting directors still and say, I want to learn about your process, I want to learn your story. And I think people love, like myself, just hearing themselves talk and then give advice, and so I would just encourage you to reach out to a reputable casting director, not necessarily for a job, but for advice. And just
thank you. Did you go in with the puppies? Because you may want to try that. A lot of puppies.
What costume is that?
Oh, it's original comic I wrote about a guy who had two puppies to fight forces in the world.
Awesome.
See, make a show out of that. All right. Who doesn't love puppies? You love puppies.
Of course.
Who doesn't love puppies? I bet you. Hi, what's your name? Where are you from?
So, Amanda, have you taken any acting classes or are you coaching? That's exactly where you should start. I think a lot of people get confused about wanting to get an agent or a manager first or a publicist. All that stuff comes later. I think your focus should really be on education and really making sure that you enjoy acting. Because what I look for in the room is someone who comes in and they audition and seems like they're having a good time, that they're having fun, they want to be there. And I've seen a lot of kids, especially, be pushed in by a family member that it seems like they want to be there, and it makes it uncomfortable for me. So I'd rather watch an actor come in who's excited to be there, who's been in training, who has experience, who can really draw upon some life experience. So I would encourage you to get in class as soon as possible. We'll talk to other actors in your class. We'll form a network of actors, a friendship circle, so to speak, and really figure out if this is what you want to do. It's a great opportunity to find to play, but it's also, from the business side of it, it's really, really difficult. And as I mentioned before, it's a huge numbers game. So you have to make sure you're really 200% to it. And it's not, it should never ever be about the money. It should never be about pleasing anyone. It should be about you and you enjoying the creative part of acting. And all this stuff that comes later, it's awesome. But initially it should just be about having fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have another question. It kind of leads on from the previous question actually, but in terms of casting child actors, so for example, you recently cast Oliver's son in Arrow, but also when you have generally young cast, like in T-Ball or something, how do you cast that? Is that a different process to casting more adult shows?
Not necessarily. For all of our shows, we do 18 plus to play high school, unless they're really, really, really young. As I sort of said to her, the hardest part is when a child actor comes in, you can tell they're being sort of forced by parents. It's uncomfortable for everybody, and I'm acting almost as an HR person. And I'm sort of looking out for the production as a whole, because a lot of times the director or producers aren't really who are casting a role. And so I'm looking at you as an actor saying, is this person going to be professional, responsible, on time? Is this actor going to be happy and musical? Is their mother who's accompanying them going to be a pain in the what? So I have to take that all into account. And so when I do cast child actors, I make sure to meet the parents as well and kind of suss them out. So it really should be I have to make sure to be all on the same page again. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi. I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you for the job that you're doing. Your casting is spot on, and I think that that's one of the most important parts of any show. And you're just dead on. But what I wanted to ask also was, you said that you usually act as a mediator when someone goes to me and like really give my opinion. Is there a certain point where you're really kind of pushing for a certain actor?
Thank you. I'm so sorry. All right.
my job ultimately is to present the producers with choices. So I kind of show them, let's say, anywhere from 3 to 20 people that I think are amazing for this role. I always have my favorites. I kind of manipulate the process
If they did a
sometimes.
chemistry
You may
test,
heard a story where we got
chemistry
Stephen Amell was the first person to
between
audition for Arrow.
between Katie
And the
Cassidy and
producers
Stephen
loved it.
Amell.
And so I made sure Grant Gustin, who I
That's a good question.
for
I
Flash,
went up there and I'm
was the first
afraid.
person
I
to
wasn't going to go
audition
up there
for Flash.
first, and then I saw her
Then
go
when
up
we got
there.
down to the second time, I wrote Melissa Benoist
dare me to?
first.
Yeah, go for it.
So
Because,
she
you know,
was the
I
first
can-
because I had a track record at that
Okay,
point.
but I'm going to say this is not my question.
So there are certain ways that I manipulate the process. After
Do you do
a
a
session,
chemistry
we all
test?
sort of sit together and talk about who we liked, who we didn't like, who was right for the role, who wasn't. And I always let my opinion be heard. As I said, I'm there for
Normally in this show,
regularly
they
for the
do
producer
chemistry
to find
test.
their
In the
vision,
couple,
so I
they
sort
did it
of
with the Flash.
have to
Right,
manage
with
it
Katie and
to their
Stephen.
expectations.
She's
But
like, no, why not?
my
And
opinion
it's
really
rated.
counts. It's not the final choice, but it's the first. If that makes sense. Thank you so much, and thank you for saying what you said, and to you guys for shining a light on casting, because I think it is a really important part of these shows, and a lot of people don't really understand what it means when you see our cover up there, and it means a lot. So
When we have the best casting director in the business at our convention.
of course we do.
All right. Where are you from?
Hector from Long Island. I was just curious, when you picked the person who played Damien Dark, Neil McDonough, was there something special about him, or was it something that was
Fantastic. I don't know if you're familiar with his work from before, but he can be creepy as hell, and he has those steely blue eyes, and he looks like such a polished gentleman, and that's what we're looking for. Someone really metropolitan who had like a sort of ageless wisdom to him. And he's just such a fantastic actor, and a nice guy too.
Was he like a straight shot for the role, or did he have to like go through casting?
He did not have to audition. That was a situation where we made a straight offer. And we've been looking at him and trying to get him on the show for a while, but we were lucky enough to get him this season. Do you like him on the show?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey there.
Hi, how are you? My name's Bobby.
Hi.
I'm in New Jersey. My question is that when you get through this process and you're going through everything, you said that you do your job each day, you know, to say,
yes.
But how much creative freedom do you have to say, like, you said you were pushing for Steven,
yeah.
and all that. How much creative vision do you have in that situation where it's kind of like, all right, I have this guy that I want to bring back to my production, or is it kind of like more so it's your character director and the writers and all that say, this is what we're looking for, find us a person like this, go get it in front of me.
You know, it starts with them giving me a script and direction and saying, you know, we're looking for a 6'2" tall He-Man type. And so it's up to me to really know the talent pool to go out and whittle it down. And as I said, I do pre-reads. I'll read 1,000 people for the role to really assess who's the best actor and who has the best look for what they're going for. Because it's a very specific show, it's a very specific world. There's a very specific tone for CW shows that's different for CBS shows. There's a different tone for Flash than there is for Arrow. So I start with their directives, but then it's really up to me to kind of narrow that down.
And real quick too, I know you probably can't talk too much about it, but with Legends Tomorrow's kicking off, and this whole world started with Arrow, and it was Arrow's world, and then we got Flash and Arrow, and now Legends Tomorrow, and all this. Does our Legends Tomorrow cast going to kind of stick with that, or will we see more of these power player DC characters come to the table? I know you're really pushing for Batman Beyond as a character, but
I can't speak to that because we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I do know there are going to be a lot of characters being introduced. And you mentioned to me before, what were the characters you wanted to see?
I said, I'm sure, I'm not speaking for myself, but I'd love to see some kind of live action Batman Beyond. You know, I think the fans would really go nuts over that, just because, you know, that animated series and what's on. I'm carrying that forward. I think that would be something really cool to see. That's just my opinion.
I know some people who know some people. I'll mention it to them. We'll see what I can do.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate you coming out.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank you as well, so for hosting.
Hey, thank you. I've never been thanked before.
Thank you.
Thank you. This guy's the man. You don't like the Yankees, do you, sir? Because if you do, then it's great.
I'm a huge football and hockey guy. Yankees. I'm a baseball fan in New York. So
okay.
Maybe you can persuade me. I'm pretty loyal though.
So. All right, fair enough.
Thank you.
He said he loves the Red Sox. We didn't hear it. I wait till he's away from the microphone. Hi there.
What's your name?
Clara from India.
Hi.
I just wanted to ask you, do you find any major differences between people who've gone to like theatre school or drama school and professional acting training versus people who don't necessarily have formal training?
Yes, absolutely. It goes both ways. I will say the majority of actors that I respond to are theater or school trained. You can see on the shows, a ton of the actors we cast have graduated from theater schools, colleges, have been on Broadway. We have a ton of actors from Broadway, especially on Legends and The Flash. We love looking at Broadway actors for these shows. I will say there's a lot of pressure on actors to book jobs when they walk into a room. There's a lot of pressure to support a family, to make their parents happy because they send them to these acting schools, and a lot of people that are newer to the business don't have as much pressure because they're just doing it for fun, they're just trying it out. And so in some cases, we do hire novice actors, especially younger actors who don't have as much experience, because there's less stress about it. There's a bit of more enjoyment on their part. I will say though, I would always prefer someone who has experience. I always prefer that they're either coaching or in school or have gone through a formal education. I just think it helps when you're on set and you're working with other actors who are experienced. It's a really quick production schedule. We have about 8 days to shoot an episode with all these effects, and it's absolutely crazy. We can't really wait on people to sort of learn how to act on set. We need to have a certain amount of experience before you get there. So it's up to me to kind of vet those people out. Does that answer your question at all? Okay, cool. So I would encourage education.
Thank you.
For everybody.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hey there.
My name is Joe. I had a question about the villains.
Yes.
You have different villains every week on these shows. I was just wondering, do you play them off the actors, or like how do you match a villain with their hero?
Well, we usually. Sorry. Explain your question. I'm not sure.
With Captain Cold, do we just like, we want this guy to match up with Grant Gustin, or do we want,
that's not necessarily up to me. Usually the writers will write that in advance and say we're writing Captain Cold to, fight the Flash. So it's not necessarily my choice. I have my own ideas, but no one really cares what those are because I'm in casting and not in writing. It's two different departments. But who would you like to see, by the way? I'm curious.
So no, what I was saying was maybe like, do you choose an actor to play the villain because he would play well against your lead role? Absolutely. I think ideally that's what I'm trying to do. We don't necessarily cast actors without a role. We usually have a role to put them into. There are certain people, like Teddy Sears, for example, who plays Jay Garrick. I've been a fan of his for a while, and he was always busy. And when he became available, I was telling the producers about him, and it just so happened that Jay Garrick role came up when he was available, so we put two and two together, and it all worked. But we never really write around an actor. We really cast towards a character. Thank you.
So you don't keep like a running wish list, like running a book that's like, if we ever had Harley Quinn, that's who I'd like it to be.
Oh, I do. If that was the question I made,
is that what you were saying?
Understood it.
Like, do they have people in mind, like down the list, like, oh, if we ever had a Harley, that's who it should be. Or had this.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't get that at all. I absolutely do. I have a male list, a female list of people that I would love to cast in the show. Not specifically for roles, but whenever we get sort of a somewhat generic, male 40s to 50s character, I have a list for that. Absolutely.
Hey, sir, what's your name? Where are you from?
Hi, my name is Andrew from Houston, New Jersey.
Hi.
And the question is, did you ever have like a specific casting role where you're trying to sign a particular character, like say Arrow, and you have an actor that's really good, and you decide, well, he's really good, but I feel like he's not the Arrow, but he's more like the Flash. Have you ever had an experience where you kind of put him in a different role?
Robbie Amell auditioned for Arrow. He did a great audition, but he just seemed a little bit too young and not totally right for it. But we remember him since then and cast him as Firestorm on The Flash. So there are a lot of instances where I'm trying to think if there's anyone else we've auditioned for one show and put on another. Off the top of my head, no, but yes, that absolutely happens all the time. LA is a pretty small town. You see a lot of the same people over and over again, so we keep auditioning our favorite actors, and after a certain amount of time, they do end up on one of our shows, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome back.
Hi.
This is not my question, I'm just a messenger, so. Okay, thank you. TV couples normally do chemistry tests. Did you do that with Steven and Katie?
I'm trying to remember. I don't know that we did, actually.
You don't recall?
I don't recall that we did, no. I think they were cast separately, so I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And, but thank you.
Actually, I do have another question to ask. If you're ever in the area, this is just an invite actually. I work in a performing arts high school. Many actors, writers, these kids do go onto Broadway and TV, and you might have seen them on television movies. If you're in the New York area in April, we do a career day speak for the theater department. Open the
Awesome, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Okay.
And if you need someone to carry your bags, I'm available.
Amazing. Done.
Hi there.
Hey, I'm from Jackson, New Jersey.
So he doesn't remember that.
Do you have plans for bringing like Harley Quinn back into your so she was cut from that one episode?
I don't want to.
I don't believe so. Not that I've heard of.
I don't want to be standing.
Daytona, sweetheart.
Yeah.
And done.
Awesome.
Give her a hand.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Very nice. Hi.
I really have a question. I just want to say thank you to the
How many tickets filled up by the way by bus? Should be okay by Tuesday.
I agree.
Yeah, by Tuesday, definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah, what's you? A nice magnet. So, recasting, we didn't really talk a lot about that. I know it's happened on some pretty big shows. A show like The Strain comes to mind. Because personally, it took me out of it when they recast The Sun. So what's that process like if you have to recast an ongoing show?
It's difficult. We try not to do it. We try to sort of establish a new character if we have to change the character. But sometimes based on availability, people book another show, what have you have to recast, and it can be pretty awkward. I think we've only done it once on the show.
In the fridge later, we got like pasta. There's like a big.
It was so seamless.
You don't know it. Does anybody?
We have to give you our
Yeah, okay, let's not talk about that.
Because it was too much
But it's an
money.
awkward,
We have to
it's
give
an
you
awkward situation.
our card.
Because you've established a character before, and you don't want the audience to get confused.
And I'll still pay my difference.
But there are situations, as I said, where they start a storyline and someone is no longer available, and you have to re-audition the role. It happens a lot before a pilot airs. We'll recast a major role, and no one will see it, so it's harder once the show airs, and you have to recast that person.
So what are some castings that you've seen that you think that they nailed it? Just maybe even in movies.
Oh, well, I gotta tell you, Jen Houston, who casts Orange is the New Black and Girls, and is casting in the Dunham's new show, I think is phenomenal. She's based in New York, and she finds a lot of people in theater, and just looks all over the place. She just has a great eye for talent, and regardless of look or type, she's a phenomenal casting director. And Allison Jones, too, casts a lot of Judd Apatow stuff. I'm a big fan of hers as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, Hallie's back. Hi.
I did Fright Fest for Six Flags for Adventure, which means I acted along with scaring people.
Yeah.
Would you consider that as a professional? Like, you would, if that was in like I auditioned and you saw that, would you consider that as something I did professionally?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. It doesn't mean that you have had to have been on television before. It's just that you've worked, you've studied your craft, what have you. And you do take it seriously enough that I can trust that, you're not going to mess around on set.
I mean, I just got to scare people and make them hate themselves. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's a local theme park here.
So anytime you're in with a ball, that's not bad.
Fright Fest is cool.
What about hosting Fate Fest?
Great, if it didn't scare you.
You have to tell me. You said if we get to this stage in New Jersey, that you would tell me the type of role you would put me in.
You said to me that you would play, on here in the boss.
I'll leave it, it's quick.
that you thought of yourself as a villain. But I don't see that. I think you're more of a hero. I think you're more of a good guy. It's hard to hate him, right?
Yeah.
I try, but it's hard to. I think it's really important for an actor, first and foremost, to know what they play as well, what their type is, what they might be right for. It helps us understand kind of how to cast them as well. A lot of people talk about being cast in a certain niche. I've been cast into doing superhero shows, because you're successful in one way, and that's how people start to see you. I do think Cisco's brother would be a good role in you.
Yeah.
I'm down. I love me some Cisco, and I'm
Maybe a little, maybe he turns villainous, but from the start of the movie,
and then the brotherly love just pulls him back.
Yes, exactly.
We just wrote it. I mean, I should say in my own department.
Say your own department.
All right, fair enough. Last time for one more.
Hi, my name's Jason. I asked a question for my girlfriend, but she's too scared.
I'm just kidding.
No, it's here. But she had a similar question to something else asked, but a lot of people do like YouTube videos and they have like their own kind of like maybe their shows and stuff on there. Would you consider that something that's part of like a casting? Would you look at like those people?
Absolutely. I encourage anyone here who's an actor to make your own opportunities. I think that's the most important thing that you can do, especially now. If you have a cell phone, there's no reason you can't write and produce your own material. I think I look everywhere. Like I said, I look on Vine, I look on Tumblr, I just Google YouTube series and watch YouTube series because I'm always looking for fresh faces. And you know, in TV you want to see some familiar faces, but especially with the younger people, you want to see people you've never seen before. And so I would say absolutely yes to your question, and again, encourage everyone here. There's no reason you can be, if you think you're more of a supporting best friend person, you can be the lead of your own show that you write. So why not do that, and why not put that out on YouTube and let people see it? I've used this example before, but I think with Jon Favreau, who in an older example, he wrote Swingers as a leading role for himself. He would never be cast as a leading man in Hollywood. He wrote this opportunity for himself on a larger level because of independent film as opposed to YouTube. So I think why not do that for yourself if you can?
Great. Yeah, we can squeeze you in. Come on.
Hey, I'm Tony from Brooklyn. Just a quick question about casting. So far, what you do is, what I'm hearing is that you're casting a lot of the fresh faces that are the front lines of the show. Like, these are the people that are around. What about behind the scenes characters? Like, for instance, the stunt people or people that could mimic them in a certain way. Are you involved in the process at all?
I'm not involved. There's extras casting, which are sort of the background players. There's stunts, which we don't cast. There's a stunt department. James Bamford, who's supposed to be here, does that. And then there's stand-ins who are sort of like lookalikes and sometimes will act on screen. Not on the television show, but it's just sort of standing in for lighting. But I don't handle any of that. I just handle people that speak.
Okay. Question that might not be pertaining to what you do. What is involved in most, I guess, like a Stephen Amell or something, who is learning a sequence for that particular scene? Like,
Sure.
what goes into that?
That's a question for James Bamford when you see her next time.
Okay.
I don't know anything about the stunts.
Just curious.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Thanks a lot. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I would love to sit here with David all day, but we're out of time. Everybody make sure, I know you're watching Arrow and Flash, check out Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl. This guy is so busy. We're